and some good old Post-its. So here we go. Oh, we're going to restart. All right. You're muted, Louis. We weren't recording. It's right. Oh, go ahead.
Yes. So that was a great rehearsal because now we're live. And I just want to say thank you so much
We weren't
to,
recording. It's right.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
So I want to say thank you so much, Emiliya, for being here. Emiliya Zhivotovskaya is the CEO and founder of the Flourishing Center and the Center for Positive Psychology. And today, Emiliya, we had an incredible day. We got learnings from every angle and every country almost, but having you closing this day is very, very symbolic because we love at the World Happiness Fest and the World Happiness Foundation to be very practical. And I know that you like that too. And we're going to go into techniques. So thank you so much for joining. This is a pleasure. And please, let's go and learn practical tools to feel better.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I want to wish everyone a happy spring solstice and happy International Happiness Day. So as Louis mentioned, I'm the CEO and founder of the Flourishing Center. And since 2008, we have been training practitioners from all over the world in how to put the science of positive psychology and mind-body medicine into practice. And I thought that what better way to close off today by giving you practical tools that you can use with children in particular, although they work great with adults as well, to help us shift how we feel. When we talk about being happy and this happiness week that we are all participating in, we are talking about a number of different things. But in positive psychology, we define happiness as a sense of satisfaction with one's life. And I personally like to think of it as having personal mastery, the ability to feel the way you want to feel when you want to feel it. And what better way to learn how to master oneself than to master being able to shift how you feel in real time. So I'm going to offer you, and we're going to do this good old fashioned way because with 20 minutes, who's got time for PowerPoint slides? With a good old little presentation just like this, 10 tools that you're going to be able to use either with yourself or with children, and they should help you shift how you or others feel. And they can be as easy as in less than 10 minutes. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. And these 10 tools are going to be delivered to you by Post-it notes because, again, what better way to see, got to get it on camera, there we go, what it is that we're talking about. So let's get started. I should also say that in addition to teaching positive psychology practitioners, I use this work as a practitioner myself, as a coach, as a speaker. I love coaching children and teaching these skills to teachers that bring this into the classroom. And so I'm going to teach you how I personally use these skills as well. And before we dive into what those skills are, the first place we want to start with is an idea that's used a lot in the field of mind-body medicine. It's used in psychology. It's used in lots of different fields, which is before we start applying an intervention, we want to get to what we call a SUD. SUD. SUD stands for a subjective unit of distress. So before I use these skills with people, I usually just have them check in and ask them on a scale of 0 to 10, how strong is what you're feeling? Because if we're going to talk about shifting feelings, we want to first understand where we're starting off with. So here I have a little ruler up here as well, where we have 0 on one side and we have 10 on the other. And this is really important because part of what we want to use is not just teaching people these techniques, but we want to help them reinforce this idea that they can change how they feel and be able to measure the impact. So that within itself, it's not one of my 10 tools, but that was within one of the simple ways that we can begin to cultivate what we call emotional intelligence, giving people the opportunity to pause and check in and ask themselves, how am I feeling right now in this moment? This also becomes really important because we need different tools at different levels on the scale, on the ruler. So if somebody is at a 10 on a scale of 0 to 10 and how strong they're feeling, stressed, angry, anxious, sad, frustrated, overwhelmed, we're going to need a very different tool than maybe when we're shifting how they feel when they're on this lower end of the ruler right over here. So I'm going to present these 10 skills to you and actually give them to you in order from skills that I would use when somebody is down all the way up in very, very, very intense emotions, and then kind of rank order them to simpler techniques that can be used a little bit further down. And again, the why behind this is always going to keep coming back to this idea of personal mastery. There's no right way to feel, but what is important is to feel, because feeling, we as human beings, we feel first. We think of ourselves as thinkers, but really we're feeling creatures. And in positive psychology, we like to say that there's no one emotion that's good or bad. It's not that happiness is good and sadness is bad. Emotions are all human, and it's like there's spices, and you want to be able to learn to work with the different spices of life. And if all you ever learn to experience is how to anger and frustration, it's like almost having salt and pepper is the only spices. Likewise, we don't just want to focus on happiness. We want to focus on gratitude and awe and excitement and playfulness and creativity, because emotions are the spice of life. They are the things that color our lives. So we're going to start off with the little countdown. So we're going to start with number 10. And so 10 is a skill called havening. And havening is one of my favorite skills to be able to use with people when they are highly stressed out. And I actually am going to show you how to haven someone. And I've got my partner here who has graciously volunteered to be my volunteer, because I'm going to show you how to do what we call facilitated havening to someone else. And we're going to put this over here as a number 10 on our ruler. So this is when someone is feeling very stressed out. Everyone out there say, "Hi, Isaac." Hi, Isaac. So Isaac is going to enable me to show you how to use havening. So havening is something that we apply 3 different types of touch. And what I love about havening is you could do it to someone else, you can walk them through doing it to themselves, or you can and you can use it for yourself as well. So there's facilitated havening and there is self-havening. And so one of the things that we first check in is if someone is really stressed out, they're not going to be able to talk their way into calming down. If a person is, let's say, anxious or scared or worried, it's very hard to just convince them in that moment that they should calm down, because if this is the brain, we're going to say this is the outer layer of the brain, the amygdala, which is the inner portion of the brain that's responsible for protection, is freaking out. So we use our body, the largest sense organ that we have, to start to create a sense of calm and relaxation. So may I haven you? So one of the forms of havening is just to be able to stroke the side of the arms to a person. And so just like that, you'll see that Isaac pretty instantaneously is like, that's nice, right? Yep. So stroking the side of the arms is one of the moves within havening. The other is across the forehead, just like this, forehead to temple. Beautiful. Just like that. And the other one you could actually do on the person's palms. So of course you want to, if you're doing this with children, if you're doing this with your own kids, you usually of course want to ask for their permission before you start to put your hands on anyone. But you can also facilitate people doing it to themselves. So I'd say eyes across your arms, across your shoulders, and begin to soothe yourself by going shoulder to elbow, shoulder to elbow. And so Isaac is going to keep doing this and sort of demonstrate, and I'm going to just show you a couple of little things about it. So one thing we're not doing is rubbing up and down, right? It's the motion of down, down. Now, the people who have created havening, and you could look this up online. Thank you, Isaac. We're going to have you back up in a little bit, but thank you so much. The people who created havening first chose the word haven to mean create a safe haven. The research studies that have been conducted thus far have found that when we are stimulating our skin in this particular way with this soothing sensation, we are actually able to create delta brainwave frequencies created in the brain. So if you had me, and I've done this a number of times, I have a Muse headband that reads the brain waves that I have present in my prefrontal cortex. And you would actually see that of all the brain waves happening, the minute you start to do the stroking sensation either across your face or across your arms, you'll see delta brain waves rise. Delta brain waves are associated with relaxation. So when I am working either with a client or myself and emotions are very strong, I'm feeling really upset, I'm feeling really, really stressed out, doing this is a powerful way. And usually as far as that SUD goes, that subjective unit of distress, you're going to find that it drops the person down from a 10 really quickly, pretty quickly down to a much lower number. So if you're interested in this, there are tons of YouTube videos that go into a much deeper science, a much deeper nuance for how havening has actually been used to help people overcome everything from panic and worry to phobias to traumas. Profound healing can happen just from telling the body you are safe. And again, when we do it ourselves, you can do your own self-havening across your arms, you can self-haven across the forehead, or you can self-haven across the palms. And again, pretty instantly, I say less than 10 minutes. Usually this happens within less than 2 minutes. You will see the body calms down so deeply. So that is number 10, and it's used for when people are high up in a state of stress and tension. The next one you may have also heard about, and again, if you haven't, you can look it up. Lots of great resources online for something called tapping. Tapping emotional freedom technique has started to become incredibly popular because one, it is highly effective, and two, it's been getting a lot of research behind it. Tapping is another what we call a psychosensory technique along with havening that can be used to shift how we feel, to get out of those high stress states into a state of into a state of calm and positivity. I'm just going to demonstrate it for you and open the door for you that if this sounds really intriguing, you're going to go, what, really? Just tapping your body in different parts of your body is going to calm you down that quickly? No way. I have to see this in action. You can look this up online. So you just look up tapping or EFT, but it's actually using two fingers and to first use specific statements that you'll find online to tap first the back of the hands. Then from the top back of your hands, you go to the top of your head, corner of your eye, outer edges of your eyes, bottom of your eyes, over your lip, over your chin, to the top of your underneath your clavicles, top of your chest, and then to the side of your ribs right over here where your bra line would be. That simple practice I have used hundreds of times in the past couple of years when a client or a friend or I myself am feeling a strong emotion that I want to transmit. And there's a lot of science behind why they suspect this is working, in particular that we have acupressure points at the ends, at the tips of our fingers, and specific meridian points along the points of our body. And so scientists have been evaluating this compared to other interventions as a powerful psychosensory tool to shift how we feel in real time. You can use this if you're feeling a strong negative emotion, like we said, a 9, a 7, or an 8 on a scale of 0 to 10. It'll drop it down pretty rapidly, and you just keep cycling that whole process. And you can also use this as a powerful one to embed positive thoughts, positive affirmations about how you want to feel instead. So that's number 9. Number 8 is another one that is also super primitive, and I'll demonstrate this one myself. And it's as simple as shaking and sounding. So the two S's, number 8, shaking and sounding. So I have a 10-year-old Pomeranian poodle that when she gets stressed out, if we're like walking down the street and like something happens or she bangs into something, she'll kind of freeze for a moment. And then, like a good dog, she'll shake it off and she'll keep going. That is an evolutionary response. In fact, when things get really, really stressful, we get really scared, one of the biological things that we do is we actually freeze. Freeze is what happens when the stress gets so strong, but those chemicals are still being released in our body. So shaking and sounding is a powerful one. I use this with kids all the time. A simple invitation to bend their knees and begin to just bounce their body, just shaking up and down. And we'll shake it off our hands and we shake it off our feet. Or if you happen to, like me, have a trampoline in your office, you can jump it off and shake the stress and shake the tension off your body, or simply knees bent and being able to shake it off. We're physically moving the energy through our body. We're actually shaking up the lymph system when we do this. The lymphatic system is the waste system of our body. So we're literally clearing things out and shaking and making sound. So when animals get angry in nature, they growl, they make sound, they let that energy out, and giving us a appropriate space to just be able to make sound. Sometimes it's just a sigh that sounds like, ah, or it's a growl, ah. I had a frustrating thing happen today, and we were out in the park, and I just took a couple of deep breaths and I just made some sounds, and I felt much better. But first, it was because I tuned into my body and I asked myself, how strong is what I'm feeling? And I was at a 7 or 8. And this is a great tool to do at any point, but a really good one when a person is at an 8. All right, another one that I'm going to ask my demo buddy and partner to come up and demonstrate, help me demonstrate for you, is actually a twofer. It's 2 in 1. It is pressing your positivity and brain buttons. Isaac is back to help me demonstrate this. So this is a really great one that you can do to someone else and a really good one to do to yourself. The positivity and brain buttons are 2 different movements that come from Brain Gym. And so Brain Gym is a actual modality that's used in schools that help children use their body to shift their brain states. So the first one is positivity buttons, and I'm going to tip this up just a little bit. Isaac's nice and tall, so I might have to get on my tippy toes. So what you do is you actually place your fingers right over here onto a person's forehead. And so you're going to see I'm kind of like lining the edges of his hairline and just cupping my hands gently. So I'm not pushing on his head. I'm not trying to give him a scalp massage, although that would be great. I am just simply placing my hands here. And Isaac, how does that feel when I put my hands here? So you got wonderful. So it usually creates a pretty instantaneous, sensation, a calm sensation. So this is positivity buttons. The other one is to take 3 fingers and you put 3 fingers. Oh, I have to find your forehead. There you go. Center. There you go. It's hard on camera. You just put 3 fingers to the center of the forehead. And what people usually find is whatever stressful thought they're thinking happens to melt away. In fact, and then you could do this to yourself. So I'm going to do it. Isaac can do it with me right over here. So you can do it to yourself and actually try it with me right now. If you happen to have a stressful thought in your mind, is it possible for you to hold that thought? What most people find is that when their fingers are here, the thought just melts away. Thanks, Isaac. So that's number 7, positivity and brain buttons. Really powerful, really helpful to use. And the science behind it is that you're taking energy away from the emotional brain, the amygdala, and bringing it into your prefrontal cortex. The next one, which is a number 6, again, we're working our way down. People are still pretty strong in terms of their emotions, but now you have a little bit more agency, you have a little bit more energy in your prefrontal cortex to spare to be able to actually work with calming yourself down. We call this one fire in the belly, water in the mind. How does that work? It's a visualization. So as you breathe in, you imagine breathing water into your mind, and I encourage kids to imagine they're a fire-breathing dragon and push out fire into their belly. Energetically, this is getting, oftentimes kids get an upset tummy because they're scared, because they're stressed out. Really what's happening is there's a lot of fire in our mind and water in our belly, and we just want to reverse that. So fire in the belly, water in the mind is a visualization that you can encourage children to do, and it will get them down, especially from those 6s or those 5s, into a much calmer place. Another really simple one, if they are at a 5 on our little ladder, is touching the belly and the heart center. So why is this so good for when people are at a 5? When we place one hand on our heart and one hand on our belly, we're bringing energy into the front of our body. And we're bringing energy also to the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is the nerve responsible for feeling good and feeling relaxed. It goes from the back of our brain and innervates through the whole front of our throat, the front of our chest, the front of our belly. So oftentimes I'll just simply have kids put one hand here, one hand on their belly, and just breathe. And in doing so, they're stimulating that parasympathetic nervous system response. All right, we're getting down there. As we're getting calmer, we have more energy available. And so sometimes I'll ask somebody on a scale of 0 to 10, how are you feeling? Where's the energy now? Where's the emotion now? And they'll say they're about a 3 or a 4. This is a great time to fill the balloon. So I have kids imagine that they have a balloon in front of them. And I'm going to ask them to breathe in. Imagine they're sucking up wherever they feel like there's pieces of 3s or 4s left inside of them. And they're going to breathe it out to fill this balloon. And as they fill a balloon, I'll sometimes say, imagine it's, first I'll ask them to connect with what color is the feeling that they're feeling, or what texture is it? And then they are either blowing it up into a clear balloon, or sometimes I let them choose the color of the balloon. Really great to do when people are at a 3 or a 4. All right, we've got 1 minute left, and I'm going to give you the last few. The last few come from mindfulness strategies. So pointing and naming is a really great one to get, once they're more calm and we just want to get them feeling good and being really mindful and present, such a fun game to play. You walk around and you just point and name the things that you see. So I might say computer, water bottle, cell phone, windows, lamp. And what this does is it brings me deeply into the present moment. It's hard to have mind chatter and worried thoughts when you're so deeply present in the moment. Another one that you might be familiar with that we use a lot with kids is tuning into the senses. So that's a similar type of exercise where you're, instead of naming things around you, you're tuning into, what are 5 things I see? What are 5 things I hear? What are 5 things I feel? And a really, really great way to shift how we feel in real time, coming into the moment, being more present, being more calm. And the last one is, now that they're at a 1, we can add the positive. We can bring feelings of positivity. Playing gratitude ping pong is my favorite. Gratitude ping pong is where you each get a chance to take turns saying something that you're grateful for. And in doing this, this creates a crescendo of positivity, because what we know about positive emotions is that they tend to go in an upward cycle, in an upward spiral. So when I share something I'm grateful for, it usually will help someone else think of something else they're grateful for, which makes me even more grateful, which makes them more grateful, and it creates this upward spiral of positivity. So hopefully these techniques and these strategies have been playful and fun for you. We of course encourage you to subscribe and to get the replay of this so you can go back to them in real time. And also feel free to check us out at theflourishingcenter.com for more practical strategies for shifting how we think and how we feel. Luis, thanks so much for having me, and happy World Happiness Day, everybody. Happy solstice, and I'll pass it back to you, Luis. Or I won't, and I'll just keep talking and entertaining you guys. do, 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 do.